Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a package from MuscleFood. If you don't know who MuscleFood are, they are a food company, hence the food bit of the brand. And I've been working with these guys for just over a year now, like a year and 4 months. And they're brilliant for me in terms of meat. I love meat. Don't know how many of you guys watching this love meat also, but generally speaking, when it comes to two things, quality and price of meat, it can be very questionable, particularly at the moment. But I find when you find a company who specializes in something, they tend to be that bit better at it. So with MuscleFood, they specialize in meat. They only sell so many other things outside of meat, which I'll touch on in a moment, but they started, to my understanding, as a meat company. They sold it in bulk, and as a result of selling it in bulk, it was cheaper than buying it in a supermarket in terms of pound for pound weight. So this is what I've got this time around. Partly forgot, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, they do meat mainly, that's why I use them. But they also do, they've branched out quite a lot now. They do meal prep as well. So they can provide you with meals with the calories on them, very high protein meals as well. They have snacks, supplements, pizzas, which I'll show you in a moment. But yeah, this is the order that I've got. So let's see what it is. So first up is a singular box of this surreal cereal. So I try these things for the sake of you guys as well. Some of this stuff I don't like. Some of the stuff I really like. So this one I've not tried yet. This is surreal cereal. So this is essentially a healthier alternative to your everyday cereal. So for example, in 100 grams of this, you get 34 grams of protein. So to give context, in a normal bowl of cereal, you'd get in and around 8 to 10 grams. So it's almost 4 times as much protein. And then in terms of carbohydrates, get this, 31 grams of carbohydrates, as opposed to, again, roughly around 80 to 100 grams of carbs in a normal bowl of cereal. Fat is around 13 grams, which is maybe a little bit on the higher end depending on what you're comparing it to, but generally speaking, crazy macros. So yeah, cereal, I'll give you my opinion as and when. And then the good thing about MuscleFood is they do deliver it with lots and lots of ice. So straight away, we have some of my go-to faves. So Mighty Meaty Pizza, Spicy Meatball Pizza, Carbonara Pizza. It's got a little bit of a wet patch there, but never mind. And then this one I've not tried, the goat's cheese pizza. Had to get the Mighty Meaty again. We also have a buffalo chicken pizza. Excuse the slight wet patches. Apparently it was delivered last night. Good job it has ice packs in. And then a cheeseburger pizza. Now, would I normally buy this many pizzas? No, is the short answer. But again, when you're working with a brand, you have to be respectful of the fact that there is a business transaction there, and I want to be a healthy business relationship for them. But if I'm just getting the same things all the time, then great, it could be great for those who have similar interests, but at the same time, I do need to branch out and try different things. So I've got a lot of pizza to get through. Reviews pending. And then I won't go into all the detail here because it is raw meat and I appreciate some of you guys don't like the meat in its raw form. But bacon, chicken, burgers, cheeseburgers, and with the chicken as well, marinated. So southern fried chicken, Pyrenees chicken, hot and spicy chicken. And then in terms of the bacon, just the normal bog standard bacon but in bulk. And then in terms of the burgers, the beef burgers, I get the lean beef burgers. I always try and tend to opt for the leaner meats. So personally, I don't have lamb. Turkey, I find very bland. I don't bother with fish. And then with beef, I try and stay away from the high fat content beef because I just find that when it comes to calorie control, it's an easy alternative. And I think I won't show you the rest of the beef because I appreciate it's probably not to everyone's liking. But when it comes to calorie control, that's probably one thing that I'll probably end this little clip on, is that you should be able to eat what you want when you want, but that mantra and that kind of mindset comes alongside the constant thought of quality and quantity. If you are aware of what you are eating at all times to the best of your knowledge, then you're simply more informed and more educated on what to do and when to do it. So, for me personally, sure, there's a difference between 10% fat meat in terms of beef and then 3 or 5% fat meat. But to be honest, if I think about it, is the difference big enough for me to opt for the higher calorie count beef and sacrifice what could be 200-300 calories? For me personally, no, it's not. So as a result, I've saved 300 calories for a near identical product. So when it comes to cereal, you can opt to have a healthier quote unquote cereal and have maybe slightly less taste than the real deal, but that slightly less taste can come with the fact that you're eating less calories, less sugar and more protein. So it's a give and take kind of relationship with food. Some things are worth sacrificing for some people, some other things aren't. So you just have to try these different things and find out what works for you. So anyway, that's that. I need to put all these in the fridge and freezer. I'll speak to you in the next bit. My Oura Ring was very happy last night. I'll put my score on here, but when you just due a really good sleep and it hasn't happened throughout the week, and then Sunday, it always seems to be the day. If you're not napping or if you're not getting a good sleep on a Sunday, that is worrying. But I got a good sleep last night, and today is 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks since I last went for a run. So I'm slightly apprehensive about what I'm about to do, but I am going to attempt some sort of run today. I don't know whether you can hear this on camera, but it's raining quite heavy at the moment. So 2 things. This is my favorite type of weather to run in. I don't know about anybody else. I say people generally, that's such a generalization. I know a lot of you guys are fair weather runners, or typically people tend to be fair weather runners. But I'm really excited to run in the rain, but I am not so excited about running in these shoes. These, I can hear my dad now saying, David, why have you bought white trainers? They're just gonna get dirty. Not the point, Dad. Anyway, let's get changed. Let's get into our running gear and let's just see what happens. Change of plan, people. Change of plan. It is torrential rain out there and my dad has got in my head. Son, why are you wearing those trainers? Why are you wearing them? Damn it, Dad. So I'm gonna change them. They're just gonna get absolutely filthy. Why wear them? I'm not going for a fast run. I'm certainly not gonna be targeting a pace. So to be honest, half of this run I may well be even walking, so I can get away with wearing these. So yeah. Now, all right, let's do this run. I don't know how much of this you can hear. I'm about 0.7 miles in and I feel fine. I'm going very slow. This will be the slowest run I've ever done. And again, I'm going to stop when I need to. But it just feels great to be out again. Oh, it feels so good to be running again. 3 weeks. It's felt like an eternity. Anyway, this is what it's about. Rain, gale force wind. I feel alive. Do you find that when you feel a challenge, you feel alive? I do anyway. Right, I'll check in with you in a bit. So we're 4 miles in now, or just over 40 minutes worth of running. And I'm stopping every 1.5 miles just to ensure that I'm not pushing it more than I need to. But I think what's not helped is training legs 2 days ago, because I'm feeling a bit heavy, particularly in my adductors, but I'm feeling good. That's all I can go off. That endorphin rush you get is everything. So yeah, just happy to be back. Okay, 1.7 left. Let's finish strong, shall we? Okay, it is 3 days later. I can only apologise. That run was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been the longest 3 weeks of my life, but it was a really good run. Very slow, intentionally. I had no pain though, which was the main thing coming out of that run. And I actually went again last night. I did the same mileage, 5 miles, a couple of stoppages throughout.
and didn't really feel all too much. But I'm not getting ahead of myself, because to give context, if I want to be running at a 6:26 per mile pace, the past couple of days I've been running more so 8:30 to 9:30. It's a completely different ball game, so I can't think all of a sudden, oh, I'm fine to run, but we will see. I'm going to get my results, actually, my scan results in an hour, so I'll keep you posted and may even take you with me. But before that, I want to talk about running injuries as a whole, because there's 3 injuries which I have personally experienced in the past 5 years. And I got a question on my Instagram last week, basically asking me what injuries I've experienced and how I have overcome them. So in no particular order, the first injury is shin splints. And before I go into the 3 individual injuries, I'll preface this by saying that typically what triggers an injury is overuse and or a high amount of volume / intensity in a short amount of time. So remember that and contextualize that relative to where you are in your journey. So if you're somebody who's new to running and you've not done it in a very long time, consider that factor. If I am going to start doing it, I need to be slow and steady with it. I need to give my body the time to recover in order to adapt. Don't just think if I do as much as I can, as soon as I can, my body's suddenly just going to become some superhuman power. It's not going to happen. So shin splints happens here. Typically the medial side of your shin. If you were to get your fingers and run it on the inside of your shin bone, if you have shin splints, you will feel a sharp / dull pain in here. Very debilitating when you run, although sometimes when you do run with shin splints, the adrenaline and the blood flow, it can negate the pain, but when you have finished running, it can be very overwhelming. Now, what typically causes it? Similar to what I said earlier, overuse, doing too much too soon, and or a couple of other factors to consider. Footwear. If you are not wearing footwear that is supportive or necessary for your kind of gait, so for me, for example, I have a little bit of instability in terms of I am quite vulnerable to overpronating. Very common, but with my overpronation, I need a little bit of stability on my shoe to help counteract that overpronation. So overpronation is where my foot caves in and then my knee follows, and therefore I'm creating a lot of stress on my lower leg extremities. Whereas if I have a supportive shoe like this with a thick midsole, it counterbalances that urge to drop my knee in. So in terms of shin splints at the time, I was wearing some, I can't remember what they were called, but they were the Nike shoes, very spongy base, not very supportive. In terms of overcoming shin splints, the harsh reality of it is that if you do get them, you need time to recover. I personally would recommend at least 2 to 3 weeks off completely from running. I'd recommend wearing cushioned shoes as much as you can throughout the day, just to reduce the amount of impact that you're putting on your lower legs. And finally, when you do start to run again, slow and steady, and each week only build up your volume by 10%. It's kind of a spoken rule throughout the running community, 10% increase. So if you do, let's say 5 miles in 1 week, you don't want to do really more than 6 miles the following week, because you increasing your mileage is enough stimulus for your body to recover and adapt. If you go from 5 miles to 10 miles, you're simply not giving your body enough time, and it will usually throw something back at you. And that usually is in the case of an injury. So slow and steady. Second injury I experienced, this is way back in 2019. It was my first ever half marathon. I was a deer in I'll say I was a deer in headlights. I just did not prioritize the run. I didn't train enough for it. I thought I'd be fine. I did a couple of runs on the lead up to it, nowhere near enough. And I got plantar fasciitis. Now, for those who don't know what that is, the connective tissue on the bottom of your foot suddenly becomes really painful to the point where it's very difficult to walk on. I remember for me, I was on medication. I was on painkillers for about a week. It was really, really sore. Keep in mind, I was a PT at the time, so my job was being on my feet all day for long hours. So really, really painful. Wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Why did it happen? Similar to shin splints, too much too soon. Keep in mind, I did very little training and then I expected my body to run 13 miles. I was also wearing some shoes that weren't snug to my feet. So my shoe had too much space in and around it, even when I was wearing it. And so my foot was slipping around whilst I was running. That is not going to be great for the fascia on the bottom of your foot, because it's trying to not only stabilize and absorb the impact of the floor, it's also trying to flip and find its place in your shoe. So get shoes that are snug And if you are somebody who is wearing a shoe that you have had for like 2 years, get some new shoes. The amount of people I see in distressed, sad-looking shoes makes me sad. I'm not saying break the bank, but the difference a new pair of shoes can make to your running can be night and day. So in terms of plantar fasciitis, again, don't do too much too soon. Get shoes that are snug and just be mindful, particularly if you're new to running, try and stick to the same surface. If you're going from road terrain to off-road terrain, expect your body to experience a lot more achiness and a lot more stress. So if you do go off-road, make sure you give your body time to recover for a few days after. Plantar fasciitis can last a couple of weeks, a little bit more than that, again, depending on how patient you are. But if you are experiencing it at the moment, just consider what you have done or lack of prior to getting that injury. Again, 10% threshold each week, slow and steady. Finally, this is something I'm going through right now, and it is Achilles tendonitis. Now, consider everything I've said so far, it applies here as well. Overuse, too much too soon, but there's a couple of other factors that I want you to consider, and this is what I found out recently. To give context, Achilles tendonitis, the tendon right at the back of the heel there, essentially the tendon that produces power for you to jump up and to explode off when you're running, it's experienced trauma. And it can be very painful. Now, I won't go into the nitty-gritty details, but there's insertional Achilles tendonitis, where it's basically where the tendon joins the heel bone, or it can be tendinopathy in the middle of the tendon, which is a little bit easier, and the recovery time isn't as much. Recovery time can vary, but a minimum of 3 months, which isn't ideal in my situation right now, but 3 months is what you really need. How it's triggered, similar symptoms to what I've mentioned before, plus very intense, powerful exertion in terms of exercise. So let's say, for example, I go about my normal running program, but this week, for example, I can actually give you an exact detail in terms of what happened with me. I did a very long run on a Sunday. Very long, very fast pace relative to what I'm normally used to. It was a little bit hilly. That was on the Sunday. On Tuesday, I then did some single leg explosive work. So what I mentioned already, powerful, intense bouts of exercise. 2 days later, a day after that, I then did a fast, hilly run. So keep in mind your Achilles is there to generate that power. If I'm fatigued and I'm trying to generate power going up a hill, my tendon is screaming at me right now, and I just didn't realize. And so what happens? It creates trauma, and that's when you can create little micro tears within your Achilles. So how do you recover? You stop running, you wear comfortable shoes to alleviate the impact on your feet. And honestly, after the first few weeks, I'm 4 weeks in now, it feels, well, I don't feel it basically throughout my everyday life. But when I start running, it can put a little bit of stress on it. So again, it's that threshold of doing something, but not too much. We need to stress the Achilles, but we also don't want to do too much in case we make the situation worse. Now, in terms of recovery period, again, at least 3 months, wear comfortable shoes all the time. When you are running, run for maybe a mile, walk. Really build it up. The biggest thing with Achilles tendonitis is being really patient, because I hear of some horror stories of some people who have it for months, if not years. It sucks, especially when you only run. For me, I have the outlet of going to the gym, which I love, so it's a great distraction. But if you only run, I feel for you, but you have to trust the process and just stop doing what you're doing. It can make a really, really big difference. I think that's everything I had in terms of the recovery. I mean, one final thing with Achilles tendonitis is you want to do some eccentric loading. I'll put a couple of links below to help you guys out and to kind of give you the right direction. But generally speaking, with running injuries, to divert to what I said at the beginning of this segment, doing too much too soon is the biggest factor. And it is often why people get injured, they lose motivation, and they simply have no desire to come back into it again because they feel as if they're dealing with chronic pain. My best advice to you, if you are somebody like that, or if you're somebody who wants to start running and is conscious about what to do and how to do it, get comfortable shoes, buy some new shoes, get excited about running, track your mileage every single week, and lose your ego. Don't go out on every run thinking you're Usain Bolt. Have a tactful run where you go a little bit faster, but also have a tactful run where you go a little bit slower, because life is about balance. And trust me, I have been that guy who has done too much too soon on more than one occasion, And that's why I have a history of injuries. To be fair, not many, all things considered, but enough to be frustrating. So anyway, how long's that been? 10 minutes! What a glorious 10 minutes that has been. I hope this has been of help. On that note, I'm gonna leave it here. Let's go get my scan results.